Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you. Hello, hello. Hi. Happy Sunday, my loves. How are you today? We are making it along on this Sunday fun day. We made it through the week, and now we are saying goodbye to the weekend. So sad, so sad. I wish weekends could last forever. Hi, Wendy Shell Bell. How are y'all today? How is everybody? Oh, wow, 30 souls already. Let me clean my glasses. I always forget to do that. Using the old pants trick. That did not help. Hold on. It's somewhat better. It's somewhat better. Hello. 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 Oh, excuse me. I don't have myself together on this Sunday. I'm falling apart, feeling all out of my elements. Only thing trying to figure out what hell I went wrong. Oh, Lord, I ain't doing nothing much. Well, I've been working today. I can't say that I'm not doing nothing much. I've done quite a few things today, darling. What's up, Wildcat? You like my singing? You like my singing? Ooh, ooh, you like my singing? Hi, Leslie. Hi, Shannon. We have 41 souls in the room. Come on in. Come on in. Oh, my goodness. Feeling all out of my element. Good morning, Green Valley gal. How are ya? Uh-oh. Listen, mother is in the house. What's up, Laura? You had to follow me back again? I feel like TikTok is having more issues than they bargained for right now. People are not getting notified. People are being forced to unfollow people, and the people in the true crime world aren't getting the true crime updates they deserve. And I'm upset. It upsets me. Okay. I want you to start tapping because you know what that does. It brings all the folks in here. We have a special guest who is in the room. I see your request, so just hang in there for just a second. So everybody share this out. There's a specific, there's this story I'm sure you have heard of. I don't know what just happened to my screen. I hope I'm still here. But there's a story, a thing that went around that caught my attention a couple of weeks ago. And how many in here, by show of hands, have seen or heard about the Wiggins property in Arizona with the weird things on it? If you saw that with the children's backpacks and the whatnots, let me know in the comments so I kind of know where I stand on getting this story explained. I was interested just to ask a few questions to the guy who offered to help, and I want to introduce his nonprofit to the guy who offered to help, and I want to introduce his nonprofit to y'all. And there's a special reason I wanted to do this on this day too, as well. And I'll explain that in just a minute. You've heard me talk about it. Hey, Dana follows it. Okay, awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to bring up the guy who runs this nonprofit, and the nonprofit is called. Well, his TikTok is called Project Child Rescue. Excuse me, Project Child Rescue, and he's going to come up here and talk about that experience. And I have a few questions for him. And so when he comes up, I want y'all to make him feel welcome. Okay, here we go. Hello.
Hello.
How are
Trying to
you?
figure out how to do this. I think that's right. There we go.
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you guys hear me? See me?
Hold on just a second. There you are. I was about to explain it, but you got it.
Yeah, it's my first time,
Hi.
so I'm trying to learn it.
Yeah.
My first
How
live.
are you?
I'm good. How are you
Oh,
guys?
oh, good. What is your first name?
Michael.
Michael. Thank you so much, Michael. And I wanted to thank you so much for taking the. And I've got so many questions about that. But I wanted to bring up to everybody the extra special reason I wanted to do this today. And I want to read this to you. And it's important that I do this because I was the one, I was a child that got away in the woods. Okay. And I always think about it, what would have happened if I hadn't got away. And would I even be here? And that's part of why I use my platform to give others a platform, especially when it comes to protecting children.
Okay.
Today's National Missing Children's Day, and it was proclaimed by President Ronald Reagan in 1983 to acknowledge the many children who go missing each and every year. From 1971 to 1981, a series of child abductions shook America. It began with 6-year-old Eden Patz in New York City on May the 25th, 1969, while he was on his way home to school from the bus. He was unfortunately never found, but the accused received a prison sentence in 2017 for that. National Missing Children's Day is observed to commemorate the dates of those missing children. And so today is that day. And I want you to meet Michael from Project Child Rescue. And I want to make sure that everybody gives him a follow because what he does is very, very important. This is quite the story, but beyond that, he has a nonprofit, and I've watched his videos, and I believe in what he does. So please give him a follow. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for the lovely introduction.
I was scrolling through my FYP. And I said, "What is this?" I want you to explain this story to folks if you can. There was not that long ago, in April, I believe, and you may correct me on the dates, where the Wiggins, who live in Arizona, were taking a stroll along their property and they found some peculiar things. Can you tell us about that?
So it was the end of April, and they were taking a stroll on property next to their property. It wasn't technically their property, but they were on a stroll. They had a good amount of acres apparently, and they were just moseying through, and they found a site full of backpacks that were all children-sized backpacks, shoes. Um, there was a bone or two that they were worried about. They saw some bones, um, things like that, some clothes here and there, and it caused them to be worried about what may or may not have taken place in that location. So, you know, they were posting stuff and they were making videos, and they claim to have talked to law enforcement. I mean, I can't confirm that. I just know what they've told me, and so basically that's the story that caused this thing to go viral. Was everyone was seeing it and reporting it, and anyway, it caused an uproar because people weren't quite aware of what's going on down on the border. So that's the basis of the story, where that we all saw, and they started reporting stuff like, you know, they felt like they were having cars drive up and down. They're out in the middle of nowhere, by the way. Like, this is like dirt roads, not even dirt roads. I would call them trails, where you had to have pretty much 4-wheel drive to go to a lot of these locations. And they were seeing trucks out there in their areas being parked, and they said that they had airplanes flying low over their property. So they got very weirded out and said, you know, this is getting intense, and they were getting scared. And that was where, you know, I started watching their videos and saying like, hey, so just as a little bit of backstory about me, not only do we do the nonprofit, this is I guess more of a side thing that we do. And I'll get into that maybe more later. But anyway, my primary career is security. And so seeing that they had videos of even, you know, them crying at one point, saying that they were scared about what could happen, because they're out there in the middle of nowhere. The nearest neighbor's a half mile ish away, so not within like yelling distance even. And they don't have any weapons. They're not Second Amendment people. And so they were getting worried and scared about what could possibly happen out there. And so that's when I volunteered to either go out there and investigate these claims that they had of the videos, because there was a lot of controversy around this situation. A lot of people saying like they knew this stuff was out there and they didn't report it. They just decided to make a video about it to try to make some clout, or so there was controversy around it, right? And so I said, hey, I'll come out there, and I offered to bring even a couple of people from the team to go out there, do a security perimeter analysis, and be like, here, we could offer to help secure the premises, and then to also investigate at the exact same time what they found and see if it was being false claims or if it was a legitimate issue that they were having out there. So
that's really commendable. And I either just saw that you were in Colorado, so you're from up north, and you're making arrangements to go to Arizona to help investigate this.
Yeah, we're communicating mainly through comments. We had a couple comments back and forth where they just basically told us they didn't have any weapons and that they were worried about their safety. But then I knew this was kind of heading to a peak really quickly. And so I tried to go get there as fast as I could. I mean, within 5-6 days of seeing the story, I had already bought a ticket to go down there. I considered driving, but decided that would cause issues with my other work. And so I decided it'd be faster to fly. So I bought a ticket for like 2 days from that day that I bought ticket. I bought a short-term ticket. And the day that I bought the ticket, they posted they were leaving. And so that caused some issues, because I was like, well, I just bought a ticket. I'm trying to come down there and help these guys. And they said that they were so weirded out that they just didn't want to be there anymore. So they just up and left. But I had still bought tickets, and I had still taken the time and, kind of ran through everything. That I was like, oh, well, I'm still going to go, right? I'm still going to go down there. I'm still going to make something come out of this trip. And I'm not going to just throw away the money, more or less. So, and they deleted their account as well. They had deleted their account, or at least put it on hold or something, where like all their videos disappeared. There was no way to contact them. And so that was their video. And I only saw their video because someone else posted it, had downloaded it and posted it before the video got their feed had gotten cut off, before they decided to take down their account. And so I saw it through another person that said, hey, like they're done. They're out. They're too weirded out. And so I decided to go down there anyway. The video with the bones, so they found bones there, and they said that, like I said, we're in communication again. They have posted videos saying thank you for me going down there, and all that stuff. But they had bones, and they said they called the Cochise Sheriff's Department, and it just took a long time, which I do believe because I work with the FBI, and to get any sort of approval from them takes 2 to 3 months. Like if I say, hey, I need this, even no matter how serious it is, it takes 2 to 3 months for them to go through all the levels of command that they have to go to get approval. So it's, according to him, it took 3 to 4 months for them to get back to him to say the bones that they found were not human bones, they were animal bones. So it is a weird space to find animal bones mixed in with people possessions. So you can go conspiracy theorists on that if you want, but so if you want to interrupt me at any time, I can get going. If you need to stop me or ask any questions, feel free.
No, I'm just listening to the story, fascinated, and I wondered, did the police tell them if they forensically made sure, or did somebody just visually put their eyes on it and says, "Well, that looks like a cow bone or something"?
They said that it was tested. According to the Wiggins, it was tested. So
The thing that caught my eye, and yes, and I want to talk about the conversations that you had with Border Patrol. You had them with two different Border Patrols. One gave you a little bit more information than the other was willing to. And that basically included the reasoning that is the path that people take to get into the country. And they have to, when it's time to go, they have to drop all of their belongings and get in and go.
correct.
But isn't there a little suspicion in you that says that there's a little bit more involved in that, especially when it's like not a mix of adult and children's backpacks, it's just all children's backpacks?
So yes, the main reason. So I'm familiar with a lot of this stuff. So most people that get into trafficking and all of this stuff is usually law enforcement. They come through a different source, I guess. So a lot of people come into these types of careers or these types of nonprofits from a different angle, I guess. So I was raised in a very I don't know how to put this nicely. So I don't come from a necessarily law-abiding family. My brothers have always been in trouble. That's the kind of people they just were. I had 3 older brothers, and then I went to a career path that was not the most law-abiding, and I was in the mix, I will say, of criminal type people. And so when I decided to change my life and to do what I'm doing now, I come from a very different approach because I have a criminal mindset where I can think and act like they do. I can blend in with them. And that's how I started working with the FBI, was because they would come to me and be like, well, this is what we want to do. And I'm like, well, that's a terrible idea. It won't work. This is how you have to approach these types of people to get them to not know that you're a cop, right? So when they told me about the situation, when Border Patrol told me, like, this is like, okay, so this is how they laid it out. I went to Border Patrol. The first group was it was a pair. It was a man and a woman, and I walked up to them, and I made sure they could see my hands because we were right at the border. We're less than a stone's throw from the wall. And so I just approached them very politely, and I'm like, hey, can I ask you guys some questions? I made the video. I don't know if you guys ever want to watch it, you can go watch the video. It's not very long because these officers did not want to speak with me. But I go and I approach them and I say, hey, can I ask you some questions? I'm from Colorado. I have a nonprofit. I'm interested. And I bring up the Wiggins story because it was very viral. I mean, there was at least a couple hundred different creators posting, reposting, making their own videos. And I saw videos that they had that had over 1 million plus views. So it was a very viral video. So I was like, maybe they know about it. They claim to have not. And as I start asking them the questions, they just keep giving me the, call our headquarters or, whatever, like, we can't talk about anything that's an ongoing case. And so they won't give me any details. I go to this, I just drive down the border. I'm like, oh, I'll just keep driving until I see another one. And then I find another one that's not too far away. And he's by himself, much more willing to talk because He's out there in the middle of nowhere by himself, and he doesn't have anybody watching him. Like the other, they were a pair, so maybe they didn't want, they didn't trust each other. I don't know. But anyway, he's by himself, so I started asking him some questions. The problem was that I had my vehicle on, his vehicle was on, because we're in the middle of the desert, it's hot. And sadly, the audio didn't work out very well. So I didn't post that one. But basically, he was much more willing to talk, and he said, I asked him lots of questions. I asked him, like, how often do we find dead bodies by the border and trying to get across? He said less now than it was with Biden, because when Biden was, in charge, a lot of people were coming a lot easier, a lot faster, and you would find dead bodies, because if you couldn't keep up, you get left behind. They don't care. They already got paid. If you fall down and die, they don't care. And a lot of times it would be the old and the young, right? It would be the kids and the old. That would be the ones that died. I asked him questions like, is it, about the backpacks, right? I asked him about that. And this is the story that he gave me. He said, and I had this story collaborated by some locals as well, because we weren't just talking to Border Patrol, we were talking to locals. And I'm like, so what do you guys know about this? And he says, they have to walk sometimes 3 to 4 days through the desert, depending on where they're coming from, a lot of things, the variables. But he's like, they'll walk 3 to 4 days, and they have to, whatever they can only take what's in the backpack, what they can carry. And so as they're carrying their stuff, they have to bring water, they have to bring, something to eat. They get to their final destination, and they're going to get picked up by either like a van or a pickup truck with a topper. And so when they get picked up, there's more space for more people if they get rid of the bags, first off. So they make everyone get rid of their bags. They make everyone get rid of everything that they have. And then also, if Border Patrol does pull them over, and let's just say that there's 6 of them in a minivan, it's already suspicious, but it's a lot more suspicious if they all have a backpack full of clothes. So they're like, to avoid that, they do their best to just dump everything, and now you're coming across with nothing. You have 0 possessions, whatever you're wearing. Now, the problem with Wiggins' stories, not his story, but like with that issue was I didn't get on Wiggins' property. I didn't get to go to his exact site. We made lives. We walked around in the area. We showed different videos. I made 3 different lives that day of different parts of the border where we were finding similar stockpiles of bags, but I didn't find what he found. So when I was finding them, I would find backpacks, I would find clothes, and I would find, cans of juice, cans of food. But I didn't find a bunch of kid stuff. And so I really wanted to be at Wiggins to see the kid stuff. I wanted to see, was there 3 pairs of tennis shoes? Was there 20 pairs of tennis shoes? The way that their videos posted was there was a lot. And that was my biggest upset about going down there and having the Wiggins kind of bail on me. And I get it, like safety first, they were scared. But, going down there, I didn't get to put my eyes on what they claimed and what they saw. And so that was a bit of a disappointment. And that's why we like I said, we did what we could. We talked to Border Patrol, we talked to locals. We walked through the desert all day. And like I said, we found backpacks, we found clothes, we found all of that. But what he claimed to have seen was many, many backpacks of children's stuff and many pairs of shoes. Now, if I'm walking through the desert, I might want a second pair of shoes, but I don't think everybody's bringing lots of shoes. And so with his particular story, there's some problems with what the Border Patrol is telling me. So there is a high likely chance that this could have been something more than just a spot that they stop at along the way. It could have been much more than that. It could have been a trafficking spot where children are taken to, because when they are taken across, every mom sends, according to Border Patrol and some other people, every mom sends their daughter with the day after pill, because they know that there's a high likeliness that their child is going to get raped. I don't know if I can say that actually on TikTok. I'm sorry. I know I've already I get violations all the time. I'm sorry.
We say grape with a G.
Okay, sorry. I apologize. I gotta try not to get violations because I get my stuff removed all the time. It's very frustrating. But yeah, like they know that this kind of stuff happens, And so that's just, and they don't care. Like they're like, it's, I'm still going to send you anyway, knowing that that's a possibility. Um, and sadly, it's not just, you know, it's all the children. It's a very high possibility. Um, and it's a really sad situation. And I wish, like I said, I do wish that they had been there and walked me through it, which leads me to my next, you know, I've been trying to stay in Colorado to do the most good, but I'm having a real problem with law enforcement here. We're butting heads a lot. I have talked to, I live in a, I live out in the country as well.
Mm-hmm.
I had tried to make sure I was far away from civilization, knowing what I do brings risk to my family, to you know, my kids. I work with law enforcement. I do undercover work. I say kids. I'm gonna piss people off. So I live out in the middle of nowhere on purpose, but I'm uncovering stuff out in the middle of nowhere. Like there's a town less than 5 miles from my house that has less than 9,000 people that live there, and I have found a ring, and I can't get the local law enforcement, to do anything about it.
Hmm.
I have discovered a murder case, and I can't get, and it's in the same area. It's in the same 20-mile radius, because these are all little towns along a highway. They're not on the freeway; they're along a highway of Colorado, and there's a town every 15 minutes or so. And these little towns, and I found a murder case, and I went on that one because she has 3 kids, and they're all very young, and one of them is paraplegic, handicapped. And when I found out what they told this family, it was the most heart wrenching. I mean, especially the boy, the paraplegic boy. They told him it was his fault, that mom abandoned him and ran away because he was so difficult to take care of. And I know it's a lie, and that's what they told him. And so when I heard this story, I went into it and I was like, I'm going to investigate this case. And I am 99% sure that she has been murdered by her husband. And the husband has this extremely long history of violence, drug abuse, and mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
And when I show all the evidence, I stockpiled it, as far as, you know, he's the one that found her supposed backpack on the side of the road that says that she ran away. And it just happened to have her ID in it. Like, if you ran away, first off, you take your car. She had her own vehicle. That was hers. She had money. Her bank account wasn't touched. And she left in a backpack in the middle of winter, and she left the backpack on the side of the road. It's just not logical. And there was many other pieces of evidence of, you know, cheating and all this other stuff. Anyway, I take all of this evidence and I present it to, again, the same sheriff's department, but a different officer. And they just say, it's not important. There's no body. So therefore, because that's the only thing we're missing. We're missing the actual physical. She hasn't been seen in over a year. And they're like, well, there's no body. There's no case. And I'm like, there's so much evidence here. It's neglect. It's negligent to not pursue this case. So I take it to the FBI, and the FBI immediately snatch it up and say, hey, this is a lot of evidence. And I'm like, I know, I've been working on this case for months. And they say, okay, we're going to take this case. And that was the last I heard from them. But it's been about a month. And like I said, it takes 2 or 3 months for them to run everything up the chain. But that's how much of a headbutting I'm getting into it with local law enforcement. Like, they don't want to help because of lots of things I know. And I'm, like I said, I'm going to get on a roll. Stop me whenever you have a question or want to. But this has all changed significantly ever since the defund the police and all this other stuff. Law enforcement has no longer been proactive. Now they are reactive. They only do what they have to with very minimal effort, and they're not going to step out because they're afraid of lots of things, getting fired, getting sued. And so they won't do anything without being forced. Anyway, and another really terrible thing, I'll since we're in this subject of law enforcement, I'll just put it in there, is I keep asking law enforcement why they don't pursue more of this, right? Why is this not a bigger issue to them? Why don't they pursue, like, we have a street in Denver called Colfax, and it's just the worst street. It's like, you know, every street has it. It's the Skid Row of Denver, so if you want, you know. and there's just prostitution everywhere. There's drugs everywhere. Like, you don't go down that street at night. It's a bad place. And so I'm asking these officers, like, why don't you clean it up? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? And there was only one officer that was really willing to talk to me about it. And he said, we are decentivized to do anything with sex crimes. Anything that has to deal with any of these topics, whether it's, SA, whether it's prostitution, any of that stuff. He's like, we are not incentivized whatsoever to go after any of these cases if we want any sort of career in law enforcement. And I'm like, well, how does that make any sense? And so he goes, well, when you bust a drug dealer or a gun runner, you attain an asset from them. You take their guns, you take their product, their drugs, and now you have an asset for the government that they can use. But when you bring in a prostitute, you bring in a liability. Now she's taking money because now you have to house her, feed her, rehabilitate her, take her to court, all of these things. And they're like, and she's just going to go back out and do it again. And many of them will, but not all of them are doing it of their own free will. So, but that's their mindset is like, well, it's a liability, and each time we bring them in, it's going to cost the government money. So we don't want to bring them in. Like, unless we have to, we don't want to. Versus if I go, and he's like, so if I go and I work these type of cases for years, he's like, I'll never get a promotion. He's like, but if I bring in one drug bust, he's like, I'll get promoted the next day. If I bring in, one big bust, the next day I'm promoted. So he's like, they've made it so that they don't want, none of the police officers want to go that way because they know they'll never get promoted. If they just want to stay a beat cop, that's all they'll be. So they made it so that they don't want to. So I keep coming to these officers. I'm like, hey, help me. And they're like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to. And so that's why it's really difficult. So that's why I said my second case that after the Wiggins, I was presented with another case that I don't know if you guys have seen her. Her name she goes by him actually, but Deprogram 69, Deprogram SRA 69. That's their TikTok handle. Have you by chance seen this person?
I have seen your video briefly today regarding that, but you can explain to everybody if you want to.
Yeah, I made a video that got taken down immediately. Basically, I was just posting a part of hers where I keep saying hers. I apologize. She talks about being a mother and stuff, so it's hard for me to keep her. And I'm definitely not woke, just for anybody watching, but I do try. In this situation, I am very compassionate upon this person because of what's happened. But basically, Ari is their name. And so they made a video saying that they have evidence of bodies in the ground near where they grew up that were unalived by people in her community, her parents, all of that. And that she has proof. And so all I did was make a video and repost saying, hey, if you want to meet me there and actually show up and not, bail or anything, I'm like, if you actually show up and you show me the spot so that you can't say later like, hey, you were in the wrong spot. You show me, I'll come, I'll show up. And they said, they told in the video, they said, bring the sonar penetration that they use for like construction to see if there's like, pipes or electrical stuff underground. They're like, bring that and you'll find it. So I've already contacted some construction crews that do that, and I'm like, hey, how much will it cost me to rent you for a day to go and check out an area? And they're like, oh, $500. I'm like, hey, you know what, piece of cake. So I got it set up, and anyway, the video got taken down immediately, and I reposted the one that you probably saw, which was basically but yeah, they said that they had tunnels down there and that there was bodies and that they were, anyway, I have made contact with Ari, and they said that they are cautious of meeting people online, which I understand. According to their story, that this has happened to them since they were 6 years old or 7, and that they were pregnant and gave birth 6 times between 6 and 21. Her first birth was at 8, 10, and then it was like 13, 15, 17, I think, and 21. Now, this is how many times that she gave birth to children that anyway. And so she says that she has lots of proof and all this stuff. So now I'm attempting to go down there if they
What
want
area
me in
is
person.
she in? What area is this?
I believe I know it's the East Coast. I believe it's South Carolina. I believe.
I
Right. And
know
South Carolina
everybody,
has a lot of stuff going on.
everybody in the comments is about to go nuts right now. You're about to see some people like because 90% of my audience is look, they're already starting. There they go. Here y'all go. 90% of my audience is in South Carolina because of the Micah Miller story. So there's a lot of domestic violence advocates and survivors in here, specifically from South Carolina. So they're going to be like, oh, okay, yes, we totally get that. There is more
Mhm.
corruption that we have found in South Carolina over this last year. It has literally blown my mind.
Yeah, she has said that she's willing to name them and all that. And I've seen videos. If you go to their Rumble, um, she names multiple people, including Hillary, as people that she has had to deal with. And
Hmm.
she does not show any signs of deception in any of the videos I've ever seen of her. She's never shown deceptive qualities. Um, she's if it's not true, she doesn't know it's not true. That's where I'm coming from, and that means that something still happened, just maybe not how their mind is working. But I'm willing to go down there, and the only reason, like I said, is because at this point, there is so much stuff happening in Colorado. I mean, it's every day I get another child sent to me saying, "Hey, this child is missing. This child is missing," and I can't get any real backup, right? And I started this on my own. I wasn't going to make it a nonprofit. This was my personal quest, so to speak. Um, I have, like I said, I grew up kind of in a criminal childhood. I don't know what to call it. I've never been arrested. I have a clean record. But I've
I
always
grew
been,
I grew up in a holler in
yeah,
Appalachia, Kentucky, and my daddy was the hoodlum of the holler.
okay,
And so I know
yeah. It's always been
I turned
everywhere
out
around me.
fine. It's all good. It's all good. Daddy, I love you. Rest in peace. But I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I was always around it. There was always drug deals. There was always, can we say prostitution, or should I find a different word for that?
Just if you can come up with a word that rhymes with it, that always helps. Like restoration. And I know it sounds ridiculous. It's
Um,
the kind of app it is where
well,
it's a freedom of speech
yeah,
violation to me, but we have to.
yeah. Um, I'll call it construction. There you go.
Okay.
So the construction was always around me, and I was working in clubs, and I was doing security there. That's where I started, was club security, and I would see this exploitation. I'm pretty sure that's a word we can say because I use it on most of my videos, um, of these women, and I would see it all the time to the point where it just became too heartbreaking because I knew what was happening, and they would come to work with black eyes and stuff. So I was always in the mix. I would always be around the illegal acts. Um, I wasn't usually participating. The illegal acts I was participating in was more I was beating people up. I was a bouncer or whatever. I was maybe roughing people up too much, but I wasn't into the drugs or into the construction or into any of that other stuff. But I would see it so regularly that I have a daughter, and I was like, oh man, my daughter is gonna see me in this way at this place, and that's not gonna go anywhere good. And so I had to really change my and I mean I was making like buku bucks, right? I was working in a place where I could work, 1 or 2 nights a week and come home with $10,000 a weekend. Like I was, it was tons of money, very little work, maybe some borderline illegal stuff going on, but anyway, I just felt like God kind of made it so that I couldn't be in those places anymore. Like He softened my heart a bit because I didn't mind, beating people back in the day, and then as I started having children and had a wife and all that stuff changed, um, I just couldn't be. I couldn't deal with it. I couldn't see the girls crying and saying that they were going to go home and get beat because they didn't make enough money, or whatever. And there was underage stuff that was happening as well. So I had to quit all of that, and I went from having, a very large bank account to being so poor that I was sleeping on a floor so that my kids could have the bunk bed, and we had one bedroom. So it was a very extreme lifestyle change as I tried to switch from what I was to becoming not a terrible person, to trying to accomplish what I am now. And now, thankfully, God's blessed me. I've become much more successful in my career. And I do stuff now that I'm happy to talk about and share with my kids. And then I started making more than I needed, and I started saying, hey, I'm going to give back for all those things that I've done wrong. I'm going to pay a penance, so to speak, and I'm going to start giving it back. Well, as I was doing this, I started doing church security. I was working in a church doing their security because there was some problems, and so I did church security. And the pastor there is a great guy named Joshua. He goes, and I told him what I was doing. He goes, well, why don't you start a nonprofit? And I was like, well, I don't know anything about nonprofits, and I don't like asking people for favors, right? I don't like asking people for money. I don't like doing any of that stuff because that's just my parents raised me. My parents are boomers. They raised me that way, and I appreciate it, but that just made it so it's difficult for me to walk up to somebody and just be like, hey, I need your help. Anyway, he presented it to me in a way that there's lots of people out there that can't physically do what I do, and they still want to help. And so it was selfish of me to keep it to myself and not allow them to help me. And then when I retrained my brain to think of it that way, I said, okay, I'll start a nonprofit. So I start the nonprofit. I got to pay for all the registration, all the fees, the IRS, all of that stuff. And so we've been legally a nonprofit for about a year. But I've been doing this for longer than that. It took me probably 6 months to decide if I was going to, when I was doing it on my own, it was about 6 months. And then after that, so where was I going with this? That's kind of some backstory about it, about how it started, why it started, and that's kind of leading me into like this next phase, is because right now we're getting some good traction now, thankfully. I saw how much people cared about this Wiggins case, and I had a few people donate a fairly decent amount to almost cover the majority of the trip that I did at Wiggins, because the trip was about $1,500. And people were interested enough that they started donating. And I said, well, that's more than I've gotten pretty much the whole time I've been doing this. Most of the time I get, a little bit here and a little bit there. And like I said, since I wasn't planning on turning it into a nonprofit, the money's not a motivating factor by any means. It was just going to be something I do on my own. But realistically, even though I love what I do as far as security, I get to protect people all the time. And I mean, many times we're protecting millionaires and CEOs. It just doesn't have the fulfillment that saving even one child does. Like there's not even a comparison to say like, hey, I mean, I get paid sometimes $2,000 or $3,000 for one day of work to protect a millionaire, but I don't care. I'd rather go save the kids. But to do that, there has to be a financial backing. I can't do both. That's the problem that I've run into, is that either I make the money and I have to work to do that. And like I said, it's great. I love my work, but if I'm working all the time, then I can't be out looking for kids. I can't be out investigating cases. Because a lot of times the case can take, I mean, the one that with the murder case, I've been working for 3 or 4 months. The case with,
if there's any time you want me to do a video on anything you're covering, to get the word out, or to any way I can help you, always let me know.
I appreciate that.
So yeah.
If we end up going to South Carolina, I'm sure I will ask you and your followers to spread the word. But that was my issue, was I was like, well, I can't do both. So what I'm waiting for is the kind of the, I don't know, the downhill part, where I cross that moment where I say I don't need to work anymore. I can just focus on this because I have right now. There's three of us. My partner, his name's Dustin. He's ex law enforcement, ex special forces. Like he's the real deal, the guy that you really want on your team if everything goes sideways. And like I said, I have a different area of expertise. I'm more of the insider, the undercover, the criminal aspect, and then we have one or two other people that help us with intel and stuff of that nature. I'm not a computer whiz. Thankfully, we found a computer whiz that helps us with kind of some white hat hacking kind of stuff. So anyway, the point of I started doing these types of stuff like with you, where I'm letting you interview me, and where I did the Wiggins was because it got a lot more attention. It brought a lot more light to the nonprofit.
Right.
And so the idea was, well, if right now, if like 300 people all of a sudden decided that they wanted to make a real difference, and they were like, I'm going to donate $100 a month, boom, all like that would be $30,000 a month all of a sudden. That would just come in, that would give me and my team enough money to quit our jobs and to just nonstop do this. And now I don't expect that to happen overnight, but that's just the idea, right? The idea is 300 people that were like, hey, I can donate $100 every month to you, would change me from saving one kid maybe every 6 months, or even maybe one kid a year, because of all the stuff I have to do with the FBI. I have to go through all these processes to being a nonstop every day. This is all I do. And still, that might not increase it to 1,000 kids a year or anything, but that might increase it to 10 or 15 or 20 kids a year, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why I was like, okay, well, I got to change my mindset. Instead of trying to work for me, which is what I do now, and I make great money, but instead of work for me, I need to get people that want to jump on and help and make the difference, because 300 people is not a lot. I mean, 300 Spartans held off 1 million Persians, right? That's the story. And 300 people online could hold off 1 million evil people, so to speak. So that's why I decided to start doing this. You are my first live stream TikTok, and so when you messaged me, I was like, this is a place where I think I could switch over and start trying to make a bigger impact. A bigger impact than we're currently making. Could I have just 1 second? I'm still actually at work.
No, that's okay. Go ahead.
Let me just do one thing real quick. Sorry, guys.
He's going to answer that call and be right back. We have 63,000 likes and 135 souls in the room. I'll ask him when he comes back how you can donate and help support his nonprofit. But the Wiggins story basically, oh, you're welcome, Alexandra. I'm honored that he would come on here. Is peculiar to me because I just don't know if it's a border crossing issue, why the Wiggins was seeing people and got scared and moved to a completely different part of their property. And why they wouldn't just let him take a look. So, but what he's talking about is, oh, you did? Okay. Well, make sure you're following me, and I'm going to follow you back. Hold on a minute.
Okay, I'm back.
Yeah, I followed
Can you guys see me?
They're asking in the comments how they can donate. How can they do that? Do you have a website?
Yeah, so the website is just the same as my logo here, which is Project Child Rescue. It's projectchildrescue.com. And if you go to the website, there is a donation link somewhere down there. You can see it, which is nice because it lets people kind of be honest that I have less than $2,000 worth of donations ever. So everything that we do is out of our own pockets. My partner has his own security company as well, and so we bankroll this. This is our passion. This is our. I mean, me and my partner, his name is Dustin. I say partner as in the business. We're both married.
Yeah, right.
But we were working together as strangers. We had never met each other. We were working a job together, and when you're sitting there for 12 hours at some guy's house, because basically when you're watching Millionaire at nighttime, you just sit in your car in the parking lot, make sure no one approaches. And we were talking about, life and kids, and then, our families. And I was like, this is great, but I'd much rather go and do something meaningful. And he said, yeah, me too, and he's, like I said, he has an amazing resume. He's law enforcement. He was special forces, and he was doing this pretty much for the money as well. And I was like, yeah, wouldn't it be great to like save kids every day? And he was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And I was like, well, why don't we just do that then? And that's where the nonprofit was born at, was sitting next to a stranger in a car. And we were like, we should do this. And that was kind of the birthing of that. And so, yeah, if you go to that projectchildrescue.com, you guys will see the donation link. And like I said, we've gotten $2,000, but I mean, like I said, we don't do it for that. It's just, I've realized, like I said, the money's not any motivating factor, but I just realized that I can do so much more because there's so much of a need. Every other day I have another kid that pops up on my list of missing kids in Colorado. And Colorado is quickly turning out to be a terrible place. I don't recommend anyone live here. I actually want to move out of Colorado at this point for my own children's safety because it's so bad here. But I mean, this might be just where I need to be because of how bad it is, right? Might just be the spot where I need to be located for now. But it's every other day. I mean, if you go and look it up, there was a girl in her own high school that someone tried to kidnap. Like literally just had her backpack on, was walking on the sidewalk. Someone tried to force her into a truck. Another girl in a school called Johnstown, which is about an hour north of Denver, did get abducted from her parking lot of her junior high. And this is happening in like broad daylight. People are disappearing. And, if you guys want to get into real controversies and rabbit holes, this is a worldwide problem. But I mean, America is the number one consumer of CP. It's so easy for people to get what they want here. And like I said, there's no incentive for law enforcement to ever do anything about it. And so that's why there has to be people like us. Like there has to be people that care on a deeper level. Because the moment you start looking for this is only hidden right beneath the surface. Mm-hmm. The moment that you start to look for this stuff, your eyes will be open. You will see that it's everywhere. But you have to want to look. And that is why it's not in the media, because they don't want you to look. Even though it's happening every day, it's never going to make the news, because then you'll start to look and then you'll find it. And they don't want you to find it. So it's just like, but it's barely hidden. Like you look for 30 minutes and you'll start to find stuff. And then you look for 3 days, you'll be like, wow, I can't believe I let my kids play in this neighborhood. Like you'll just start to find stuff. There is so many predators in Denver that when you pull up the map, it's almost all red because there's so many of them so close together. Almost all of Denver is red.
I saw your map. I saw your map, by the way. And you know what shook me? I'm in Tennessee. You couldn't even see a white spot on my state. That's what caught my eye about that map. And you look over to the west, it's a little bit more, you can see a few spots. But the East Coast is I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
Yep. There's it's anywhere along the coast is always going to be worse because they have that easier access to ports and everything. And it's not like this is, I mean, in movies they'll try to portray it as it's the weirdo in a basement somewhere and that's it. No, this is highly organized crime. This is them being shipped by hundreds and hundreds of people in cargo ships, in buses. They're coming like, here's a good example. This is how easy it is, guys. So my brother, we're a very interracial family, right? I'm married to a black woman. My brother's married to a Hispanic woman. We're very interracial. We actually go by the All family, ALL, All family, because we're just so mixed. Everyone's family. We don't care. And so we were going to Mexico. Me and my family, we travel a lot. We've been to China, Japan, Dominican, Mexico. We go all over the world. And we were going to Mexico, me and my brother one time, before I met my wife and had kids. This is when I was fairly young. I was like in my 20s. My brother was 28. I was like 21. And we're going to Mexico, and he has two sons. They're about 3 years apart, so it's like 8 and 11. They are very Hispanic looking, very much do not look anything like, because my brother looks just like me, very fair skinned, blue eyes. We go across the border, and to get across the border is super easy. Like, you just barely, like, they barely even look at your car. But to come back onto the American side, they ask some more questions. So we come back, and all of a sudden they're like, who are these children? Because to go across, you don't need any sort of, at least before now, I guess they're changing that. But before, if they were children, they didn't need any sort of identification. So me and my brothers had driver's license. That was all that was needed to go across the border to Mexico, and the children had nothing. So we come back, and there's two young boys, 8 and 11, that don't look anything like us at all. And they go, who are these kids? And we go, that's my nephew. That's my nephews. He's like, yeah, those are my sons. And they just look at the kids, and they go, is that your dad? And they go, yeah. That was it. There was no other questions. There was no other, and they let you cross. That's how easy it would be for someone to go across, pick up some kids, and drive across. Like I said, we didn't look alike. We don't even look related. And all I asked is one question, and they let us come back. No paperwork, no anything. And that's how easy it's been. I mean, I hope it's going to get better. I hope, they're going to start tightening it up, but that remains to be seen. But that's why America it's such an epidemic, and no one talks about it. I mean, they talk about the C word, right? That happened in 2020, and they shut the whole world down. There's more children that go missing each year than there was deaths from the C word in 2020. And yet no one shuts down the world for those people that are missing. No one will shut the world down for them, but for the C word, for the agenda that was being pushed, they shut the entire world down. And I know, because I was traveling trying to get places, and I was stuck in the Dominican and for 6 months, and I was, it was not great. But yeah, they shut the whole world down. But if right now, no one will blink an eye when they go, oh, there's 300,000 missing here, or 400,000 or 500,000, or whatever. Like, it's not even a blink. I mean, and there's been no real justice. There's been no real change in anything, as far as I can tell, since I've started getting into this field. And there's some horrible things. I mean, I get messages from people that are so desperate in my TikTok. Because, I mean, you're messaging a random person on TikTok, you're desperate. And I have people telling me the most horrific stories. And CPS is a big part of it. CPS is completely evil and corrupt. And there is stories of, just recently in Florida, a strip club received over 300 children to that location. And CPS knew what it was. They knew what they were doing. If you guys look into CPS interviews on TikTok, you'll find lots of people saying, like, yes, I know that we're giving these kids into the hands of people that have history of SA, but we don't care because we have to put them somewhere, so they're going there. And the other reason why this is such a difficult thing to besides the fact that the government and everything is decentralized to help, the other issue is there's so much money that is getting into this, right? So much money, like we're talking billions of dollars. Because if you just did the math, right, and I'm trying not to like be gross or disgust anyone with, but it's just the facts, okay? One little person, I'll try to keep it as ambiguous as possible. It can be charged $1,000 to $5,000 for 1 hour. Okay, like let's just say there's one, and let's just say 2,000, just to make the math easy. Not the most expensive, not the cheapest, but 10 times a day. That's $20,000. So imagine there's a ring, which is like the one that I found. 10 kids. That's $200,000. Right? And maybe not all of them are out all day, every day. But like when you start talking about that type of money, that's over $1 million every other month. Mm-hmm. It's easy to pay off whoever you need to pay off to look the other way, whether that's a judge, whether that's law enforcement that starts to get too close to the truth. If you gave a judge $500,000, he's probably going to look the other way. because there's too many cases that I've seen of people asking me for their help, saying, hey, my kid, is in trouble, and the judge gave complete custody to the dad when the child has accused the father of CP, of SA. And the child is saying he did this, and they took custody from a mother and gave it to a father. That makes no law. That makes no sense from a law standard. And it's not like it was one person. If it was one person, I'd say, hey, you know what? Maybe that person's making a story up. That person's crazy, and she just doesn't know it. But no, I've seen probably 2 or 3 dozen people message me say, my kid got taken from me. And again, if you guys go look on TikTok, you'll find these. My kid got taken by CPS and put into custody with bad people, whether it's the biological father, whether it's some other family. Biological father's the #1 offender, by the way. It's a sad truth. My mother had to deal with that. Her father did that to her. So it's a very personal topic in our family. And almost no woman that I have ever met has said that something hasn't happened to her at one point or another. It's just a varying degree of how bad it is. But if it's happening that much and there's no attention being brought to it, it's being hidden. It's being suppressed. Because I don't know a single woman, not my wife, not my sisters, not my mom, that has never had something really bad happen. And then to have 300,000 kids missing each year, it's not like 300 total. It's 300,000 every year disappear. Every single year, there's another 300,000. Colorado lost 2,500 kids in their last census, which was 2023. They lost 2,500 kids. 70% of them came from government care, meaning foster care, orphans. 70% of them that disappeared come from the government. That's not a coincidence. Like, the government's not finding them. They're not even looking for them. 70% of the kids are just gone. So, thankfully there are some that are recovered, but not nearly enough that we should, as a group, stop fighting.
You're getting a lot of agreement in the comments. Chastity says these kids just don't disappear. They're being for money. And Farm Girl says too many missing in New Mexico also, especially in her small county. So there was a ring uncovered just in the next town over from me just a few months ago. I went to we had a local guy that has been in the Blount County, which I'm in Blount County, which is right outside of Knoxville, school system since 2005. And I've already done 2 podcast episodes on this, and I just got all 106 pages of his employee record, and I'm about to put out episode number 3 because he had accusations starting in 2005. He was a floating gym teacher, and his father was on the school board committee. So he didn't just get to teach gym at one school. He got to go to all the schools around the county, including schools that my own children went to during that time. They would ignore it, and I'm reading his file, and the teachers would email about it, and then they'd be in meeting, and he'd get a warning and whatnot about inappropriately handling the girl children in the gym class, if you know what I'm saying. 2023, this guy has a real, 1 week in September, where he does this like 4 times in a row, and it's caught on camera. 80 plus complaints, 85 complaints. That's right, he had on him. So he finally puts in his resignation. He says he's guilty to 5 counts of assault, touching of a child. And then they gave his sentence 2 weeks ago, and it's 6 months probation. He gets to expunge his record at the end of the 6 months, and he gets to keep his teacher license so he can go back and be a gym teacher again.
Yeah.
That created an outrage. We've had protests here in my county and everything. So it happens. Churches, schools, your neighbor, people you wouldn't even expect that are outstanding citizens of the community. My own daughter's school principal, who my children are grown. So my husband and I have been married for 31 years. We're empty nesters now. The school that my daughter went to, I loved her principal, thought the world of him. Looking in this file, finding out he knew way more and did not enough. You never know.
Yeah. It's not uncommon what you're talking about. It happens all the time. They'll catch someone, they'll plead guilty, and then they'll get almost zero, if any, prison time ever. They'll get a slap on the wrist and sent on their way. I have a video of someone from New York that got sent to me by a hacker, and I can't do anything with it because it was sent to me by a hacker. It shows a man that's in his late 60s. They gave me his name, his phone number, his address, and videos of him confessing to what he does and bragging about it. He would do TikTok lives where only his friends could join, only people that were on his friends list, and he would do stuff. And he would have like a 15-minute window, and he would have videos where he would let his friends watch, and he would do stuff. And this man had a extremely huge criminal record. He was walking around free. He had arson charges. He had all of this other stuff that we're talking about charges. Yeah, he was walking around free and bragging about what he did to infants, like literal babies. And this was one of the most horrific videos I've ever seen that caused me so much anger, which is very difficult. I've been in this field of security and protection and for decades, so you cannot make me upset easily. This video was so horrible and hard to watch, and knowing his address and everything about him, I sat my wife down and I said, if I did something about this, what would you do? And she goes, I wouldn't stop you, but think about your own children. If you do something illegal, what's that going to do to them? And so thankfully, that's why God gave me a good wife to stop me in moments of that. But these people aren't unknown. These people aren't like these little, super spies that no one can find. That half the time they're in the open, and they're going to court for something, and they're just getting a slap on the wrist and sent home, and being allowed to do it over and over and over, to the point where there is not really much consequences for these people, except for the only consequences they ever get is if they actually go to prison. They're going to face consequences by other inmates. But as far as the government is concerned, there's no consequences. And so that's why I keep saying, like, we need more of these types of groups, like Project Child Rescue, like ARC, Association for Recovery of Children, V4CR, Veterans for Child, because there's not enough. There's just not enough of us. But we have to do something. And so to anybody, like I said, that wants to jump in and donate, I mean, all the money goes to the nonprofit. We don't live off of it. I don't need it. I mean, my wife asked me when I started it why I was doing it, because we didn't need money. I was barely home as it is because of work. I work a lot. And anyway, but she was like, why are you doing this? And then kind of when I laid it out as far as, my own personal experience with family and everything. And anyway, there's a whole lot more to it. And I know you said an hour and a half, so I'll try to minimize all of the backstory parts. But I have a very good life is what I'm trying to say. I have a great life. I have great kids that I should spend way more time with than I do. But this is just a passion project that I hope becomes a full-time career at some point. But, there's nothing. If you guys ever have the chance to either to volunteer or to do something, there will be no better feeling in the world than knowing that you saved a kid. It's just not gonna. That child will never forget you the rest of their life. Never. And whether you're just helping through donations or whether you're actually on the team somehow, I mean, that's the only problem I get is every guy. This is an interesting, fact that I'll point out. 70 to 80% of all my donors have all been females. They've all been mothers, all of them. Only 15 to 20% of my donors are men. And I find that really disturbing, especially when you pair the fact that the majority of offenders are men and their fathers, biologicals. I find that really disturbing because they're the ones that have more money. and but they'll message me and they'll say, hey, I'll go on a mission and I'll help you save the kid. And I'm like, have you ever put your life in front of, like, have you ever put your life on the line for someone else? Have you ever been in that place where someone could die if you don't make the like? It's like I can't just take a random person that says, hey, I want to be on the next door kicking mission. It's not gonna happen. I mean, I don't even feel qualified sometimes, even with my years of experience. But you know, I feel like I was called to this, and this is what I'm supposed to do, and I'm gonna keep doing it. But yeah, I'm really shocked about the lack of outrage. You know, even with like the Diddy files, the Epstein files, I thought that was going to be the end of it. I thought Hollywood was going to be destroyed by the Epstein lists. Mm-hmm. I know people that are like, well, I know that this actor, whether it's Tom Hanks or whoever, that they're, it's like, well, he was on the list, but I still think he's funny, so I'm still watching. I'm like, how can you compute that in your brain? Like, all I see is a monster when I look at these people. Like, I can't watch TV anymore. It just, like I said, you get into this stuff and you'll change your whole worldview. But I can't watch these actors that I know. Even they're all, in my opinion, they're all guilty because either they are in on it or they know about it and they haven't come out to help. I mean, even like I love Denzel and Mel Gibson, and they've come out and talked a little bit about it, but they're still in the industry. They could do more. But they don't, because the reason they don't is very simple. Hollywood is literally set up in the exact same way that mob and like an organized crime is, and so they've done that on purpose. So it's literally the largest organized crime in the world is Hollywood. And what they do is, there's just like, imagine the mob, Italian mob. You have your Capones and your Dons and all your big shots, right? They're born into it and they control everything. But then there's other people that want so badly to get into the mob and get into that easy money that they'll do anything. And so they take advantage of that. They go, oh, you'll do anything? Okay, do this for me. And they'll give them small tasks, right? They'll be like, hey, run some drugs for me and make sure, and I'm going to make sure you're not a snitch. And then they'll be like, okay, you did that really well. Okay, let's up it. I need you to get rid of a body for me. Okay. Oh, you didn't snitch? Good. They're going to give them that. And then they're going to be like, I want you to kill for me now. Kill this person. Prove to me that you won't snitch. And then they got them. Now they can't snitch without getting themselves also. They're both guilty now, right? And so that's how they do it. Hollywood's the exact same way. They'll bring people in and be like, oh, you'll do anything? Okay, degrade yourself on TV. Degrade yourself, make do the most disgusting things on TV. Like, you'll see the John Cena videos where he goes on naked, or all the men that have to wear dresses and pretend to be, gay or whatever. And then they'll be, okay, you did that. Now we're gonna up you to, you're gonna come to some of these parties, some of these Diddy parties, some of these Epstein parties, and then you're gonna participate. And then if you ever say anything, now we have you on camera doing the exact same thing that, so now you can't come out and point a finger at me because I have a camera pointed at you saying the exact same thing. And so they won't snitch on each other because they know that the moment they do, their life, their career is over. And it's the exact same setup as the mob. They're just a larger version, and they have the government to protect them. The government's backing them, the CIA, they're all helping each other, and it's just the largest crime. So the only people that can fix this problem are people like you, people like me, people that actually care. They're the people that are going to fix this. The government's not going to come to save us. They're not. Not unless things change in the most drastic way that I have yet to see. And I was hoping the Epstein files were going to change that. I thought maybe everyone would burn that place to the ground, but that didn't happen. So until everyone starts to get involved and look out for each other and help each other, like, this is going to be an ongoing problem as far as I can tell. And in my opinion, this is the goal. I mean, the goal is to make it legal. That's the goal, right? You could take any, history repeats itself. So you'll take patterns and you'll see what they do. They'll desensitize you first. Think about how much, like I said, once you open your eyes, you'll see it. There's so many movies now that joke or bring up child essay, right? Like Deadpool talks about it all the time. He'll say, like, I've posted videos and they usually get taken down about him making a joke about something dirty with a kid. Game of Thrones, the newer version as well. They have child marriage and they're doing stuff with. Anyway, it's everywhere now. Like you can't watch a show without this kind of stuff. There's anyway, it's horrible. But they did the same thing back in the day with LGBTQ. It started off in the '60s. They started being like, oh well, the first time there's a man-on-man kiss will be in Star Trek, and then they started just being like, oh well, it's funny. We'll put a lot of videos making fun of them, and then they'll slowly start to I can't speak, merge and morph into. Now it's in every movie. There's no movie with no LGBTQ agenda in it. They all have it, whether it's needed or not. It's like you can't watch a movie where there's not that in there, and it's like, is it important to the storyline? If not, then it shouldn't be in there. It shouldn't be in there. If it doesn't help the story, then you're forcing an agenda. And the same thing with this now. Now it's in so many movies. I can see it. I see the pattern. It's like, okay, they're desensitizing humans, and now this Gen Z that have been exposed to like corn their whole life because they had cell phones their whole life. The more corn you watch, the more your mind gets twisted by it. You're like, well, I saw this. I need to watch something else to get the same dopamine hit, just like a drug. And so they start watching more and more perverse things, more and more. So they want younger, they want different, and the mind just keeps craving something else. And now they have AI that's doing it, that can generate all of this child corn. And in another 5 or 10 or 20 years, even at the longest, they'll be so desensitized to it, they'll just be like, well, who cares if it's legal? Love is love, right? And it'll be legal, I think, less than 20 years. But I think it could be as early as 10. But that's the end goal that they want. They want it to be legal, and they want it to be destigmatized so that no one blinks at it and no one does anything, because this is like the most evil thing that you can do. And if you can do this, there's nothing off limits. At the point that you allow this becomes legal, there will be nothing off limits at any point.
I agree. And I have seen where people go anywhere from trying to identify as a season to identifying that the attraction toward children is a normal thing. And unless we start standing up and telling more of these stories and exposing the truth, I agree that the country is not going in a positive direction.
Yeah. I mean, it's still, I don't think it doesn't have to go that way if people decide to stand up and to change. But the way that they want it to go is that it will be legal. And I think there is a chance that we stop it, but it's going to take a large movement. It's going to take a shaking of people to really, like I said, I thought Epstein was going to be the big change, but because now it's not even like conspiracy, but like 10 years ago, it was all conspiracy. You know, there was a Bohemian Grove. It was all conspiracy. But now that it's considered factual, nothing's changed. Hollywood is still Hollywood. You know, there's still all this stuff that's happening, and like Hollywood's just one part of it. There's so much more. I mean, there's the cartels, there's the elites, there's the. Yeah. It's not like it's a one-off, but even when we have the evidence right in our faces, people are being apathetic. They just don't care. They're like, hey, you know what? Life's tough. I don't care. And that's what really has to change. Is social media has made us less social. We don't actually meet our neighbors. We don't actually go outside. We're not actually friendly. And that's what's really interesting to me is when I go to these other countries that are very poor, especially the poorer the country, the more friendly the people are. The less they have, the more friendly they are, because they have to depend on each other. And we as Americans are so used to like depending on ourselves, being independent, right? Like we can do whatever we want. You can order groceries and never have to step outside. You know, we actually don't look out for each other. We actually don't care about each other. There's videos of people being stabbed or raped or whatever in public on a subways, and not one person will get involved. They'll just record it.
Oh,
they won't get involved. And I'm like, there's got to be more people that are willing, like, hey, I'm gonna put myself in between this and that. I'm going to put myself in between that myself and the child to save that child. But too many people are like, they're just not being social. They're not caring. They're not loving their neighbor.
I agree. I'm 48, and though it was bad growing up, I'm not going to say, but now we didn't have the internet and social media and all the platforms and all of the ways, and I cover them all the time. My own great niece, who I saw, by the way, the other day, she's doing good, went missing over the last summer, with a 37-year-old man. She was 15 at the time. She was gone for 4 or 5 days, and I found myself in this situation like, how am I supposed to, this is part of my job, and now I've got to face this in my own family. So I've been affected by it. I'm a child SA survivor. The only thing I knew to do that one day in the woods was run. And this was in the 80s. It's the only thing I knew to do was run. And they had to cross a creek, and I outran them, and I ran all the way to the nearest house I could find. But it's on such a huge scale. This is a worldwide epidemic. It's a worldwide problem. It could be my grandchildren. It nearly was my own children if they had gotten him as a gym teacher during that time.
Mm-hmm.
So to say that it takes a village is an understatement when it comes to the protection of children.
Yeah.
I want everybody in here to please follow this young man, and he's got a lot of great things going on. He's going to make a huge difference in this world. I'm going to help him. He wants me to put out a story. It's going to be put out. He wants it in a podcast. I'll do it. And that's how I give back for surviving the stuff that I did and the people that helped me along the way. I'll be live again on Tuesday, y'all, at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to talk about the Susie Skinner audio. I know y'all been itching to talk about it. And we're going to deep dive into what else Susie Skinner might be hiding there in South Carolina. All right, sir. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate everything you do. You're a godsend. And anytime you want to come on the show to talk about anything, to announce anything, you let me know and we'll make it happen.
All right. Well, I appreciate the time, and I appreciate everyone watching. So thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You guys know you're making my dreams come true right before my eyes. It happens every single day because of you. We are able to use our platform to show people that justice is still possible and that people still have a voice. I'm working on a podcast. I'm hopefully I'm going to try to get it out by the end of tomorrow. I'm a little bit behind on it. Joseph Dalton's 106 pages are a lot. But also, I want to put together a podcast about Chris Skinner and that audio that you heard Fitz News put out. If you've not watched Fitz News' interview on YouTube, make sure you go watch that. Talking about, and they're going to be releasing more next week. Maybe the body cam. I'd like to see the body cam of Susie's reaction, even though she went bizarre. Anyway, all right, you guys. I hope you guys have a lovely and blessed day. Remember that you can follow me on any social media platform. All you have to do is look for the same username and logo. I'm everywhere you can possibly find me. But remember that I am on YouTube first and foremost. Find me on YouTube. We don't know the future of the TikTok app, and I don't want to lose you. So make sure you're following me, okay? Instagram, Facebook, all of the goodies. All right. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for everything you do, and I'll see you Tuesday morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.